Hello, seventh graders. Here is our next lesson on probability. I think you're really going to like this one because there's almost no calculations involved in it. We're just going to talk about the difference between samples and populations. This is lesson 13 if we had your module books. In this lesson, you will learn about collecting data from a sample that is selected from a population. You will also learn about summary values for both a population and a sample, and think about what can be learned about the population by looking at a sample from the population. Okay, number one, describe what you would do if you had to collect data to investigate the following statistical questions using either a sample statistic or a population characteristic, and explain your reasoning. So let's just go ahead and answer these two, and that'll help us understand the difference between a sample and a population. So A, how might you collect data to answer the question, does the soup taste good? So you're in your kitchen, you just made some soup for dinner, you want to know if it tastes good. What are you going to do? I think you're just going to grab a spoon and try one little taste. Notice, please, that you're not chugging the whole soup, you're not eating the whole thing right now just to see if it tastes good. You'll do that later after you're sure that it tastes good. B, how might you collect data to answer the question, how many movies do students in your class see in a month? Well, there's not that many of you guys in the class, so I think there would be no harm in asking each of you. Okay, so these two give us a nice example of a population and a statistic, or I'm sorry, a sample. This one here where we tried a spoonful is called a sample. We didn't eat the whole thing, we just had a small sample of it. This one down here where I'm going to try to ask every single one of you, I am asking everybody in the population that we're talking about, which is everybody in the class. So a sample is just a small taste, a population is everything. How might you collect data to answer the question, what is the median price of a home in our town? So what is the price that people are paying for houses in your town? We certainly cannot ask every single house how much it costs. So we'd have to find some way. There's a nice website called Zillow that you could look up some addresses. You could go to the newspaper. They sometimes list the sale prices of houses. But we're going to do something that's going to give us a sample. We're not going to be able to ask everybody in Buffalo. D, how might you collect data to answer the question, how many pets do people own in my neighborhood? So do you think you can walk around and ask everybody in your neighborhood how many pets? Not really. And can you just sit on your porch and watch the people walk by? Well, that would be good for how many dogs, but people don't usually walk their cats, and I certainly can't walk my fish. And any other animals there don't usually get walked. So we will have to do some kind of survey where we're going to go around and just pick a couple people and ask them. So again, that's going to be a sample. E, how might you collect data to answer the question, what is the typical number of absences in math classes at your school on a given day? Now this one, as the teacher, I have access to a website that keeps track of all of this. So it wouldn't be so hard for me to look at every class. We could run a report. You know, Ms. Gasparini enjoys those reports. And we could see exactly how many absences there are on any given day. So that one is going to be a population. We are able to see everything in that group. How might you collect data to answer the question, what is the typical lifespan of a particular brand of flashlight battery? Are we going to take every battery that comes out of that company and test it? No, there's no way we could test every, and what would be the point? We'd be using them all up and nobody would be buying them. So maybe we're going to test every 100th. So maybe we're going to make 100 batteries and we're going to pull out the 100th one and test that one. And then when they make another 100, we'll pull one out of that group. So that is a sample. I'm going to abbreviate now. How might you collect data to answer the question, what percentage of girls and of boys in your school have a curfew? Okay, so I was able to use like a website to see how many absences there were. But is there a way to ask every single kid in our school? No, I don't think so. So why don't we, um, let's survey by bus? Because on a bus, we've got some kindergartners, we've got some seventh graders, some fourth graders, boys, girls. So that might be a good way to do it, is just a survey a bus or two, a bus or two. And that's going to be a sample again. We're not going to ask everybody in the school. How might you collect data to answer the question, what is the most common blood type of students in my class? So I'm just going to ask y'all. I can use that population because, again, you're right available to me and you're not that many. So it would not be a problem for me to ask everybody in the population. A population is the entire set of objects, all the people, all the animals, all the plants, for which data might be collected. A sample is a subset of the population. Numerical summary values calculated using data from an entire population are called population characteristics, and numerical summary values calculated using data from a sample are just called statistics. For which of the scenarios in example 1 did you describe collecting data from a population? So that was asking the class, we were going to talk about how many movies you saw and curfews. What's an example of a sample? Was soup, the batteries. Think about collecting data in the scenarios above. Give at least 2 reasons you might want to collect data from a sample rather than from the entire population. And I think I already spoke to that as I was doing it, so we can move on from there. So indicate whether the following statements are summarizing data collected to answer a statistical question from a population or a sample. So these directions are very thick and multi-wordy, but what we're really just asking is, did we ask everybody, then it's a population, or did we ask just a group, then it's a sample? So A, 54% of the responders to a poll at a university indicated that wealth needed to be distributed more evenly among people. So we are just talking about people who responded. A lot of people do not respond, so that would be a sample. That is just the people that responded. Are students in the Bayshore School District proficient on the state assessments in mathematics? In 2013, after all the tests taken by the students in the Bayshore schools were evaluated, over 52% of those students were at or above proficient on the state assessment. So they looked at all the students that took the test. So that is a population. C, does talking on mobile phones while driving distract people? Researchers measured the reaction time of 38 study participants as they talked on mobile phones and found that the average level of distraction from their driving was rated 2.25 out of 5. They asked 38 people. There are certainly a lot more people than that are driving cars, so that is just a sample. Did most people living in New York in 2010 have at least a high school education? Based on the data collected from all New York residents in 2010 by the US Census Bureau, 84.6% of people living in New York had at least a high school education. So let's not get into whether or not everybody completes the census, which, by the way, your parents should be doing right now. The census is out. It's something they can do online. But they're saying that they looked at all New York residents. So we're going to take them on their word that they looked at all New York residents, and we're going to say that this was based on a population. E, were there more deaths than births in the United States between July 2011 and July 2012? Data from a health service agency indicated that there were 2% more deaths than births in the United States during that time. Do you think it's possible for somebody to know every single person that was born and died in the whole United States in a year? No. So that's just going to be based on a sample and a prediction. Okay, our last one here. F, what is the 5th best-selling book in the United States? Based on the sales of books in the United States, the 5th best-selling book was Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. So we are going to call that a population. The publisher knows how many books they made, and they know how many that they sold out. So it is possible for them to know what is the best-selling book. Your homework is going to be this same process, just saying sample or population, and then like we did at the beginning, saying how might you do it, like with a soup that you were going to use a spoon and taste it. So go ahead and give that a try and have a lovely day.